You know, that's something I haven't thought about. It makes sense that they would have Disney songs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's karaoke. It makes sense that they would have Disney songs. She said she can kill the song from Make a Man Out of You from Mulan.
Mr. I'll make a man out of you.
Oh, they have a good soundtrack.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It did cause some serious intimidation because I was drunk and did an incredible version of Frozen.
Bruh.
Without actually consulting a monitor. But it was just because in high school we had to do like waltzing.
Waltzing?
And the only album that was fine for the elementary schoolers that could hear it was the Frozen soundtrack. So it was just looped
interesting. Okay.
on repeat for like a week.
Okay.
Terrible.
I mean, it is one of those soundtracks. Blake, has his baby Ken started watching Frozen yet?
Maybe because of my daughter. No, we don't do the Disney thing.
Okay.
We want her to date men when she's older. I'm kidding.
But why?
Totally kidding. Everybody's giving Disney crap about the LGBT whatever,
Oh,
and
that's
I don't really care. Disney's awesome, dude.
Levi loved Frozen for a bit. Not so much now. He's 10. but-
He's gonna hate that you said that. Are we on the air?
All right, guys, welcome to the Real Alaska Podcast. My name is Justin, the host, and I'm here with my trusty sidekick, a co-host.
Billy Hughes, welcome.
And we are here with...
I'm Blake Quackenbush with the law offices of Blake, Fulton, Quackenbush.
And I'm Mckinley Brock. I think I'm your youngest attorney. For your...
I think
Yes.
so.
Preston beat me.
I don't know. I don't take anybody. Yeah, I don't ask them their ages.
Okay, youngest attorney, oldest attorney in the firm?
No.
Who beat you?
Oh, actually, I probably am the oldest attorney. I have a paralegal that's a tad bit older than I am. She looks younger than I do, but
It's the years of stress, Blake.
it's wearing me down. I'm a creaky old ship over here.
Okay, so law firm. Blake, you on the firm. Okay. What types of law do you guys do?
So we're headquartered in Anchorage,
Yep.
Vancouver, Austin. Primary place of business is Alaska,
Okay.
but we've got clients all over the world. So, but we do corporate, criminal, wills, trusts. We've just debuted bankruptcy, and it was funny because we were looking at our rankings online, and we went from 0 to first spot in one day. So competition
Congratulations, man.
is not too stiff in Alaska on that one. But
Yeah.
we've had some pretty affluent clients. I mean, I've had at least three Hollywood stars. You all know, but I can't tell you who they are.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And then we've represented some pretty major corporations and things like that, and some
Cool, man.
interesting litigation. Most
Nice.
people are pretty familiar with us in Alaska because of our COVID work with Kreiner's Diner.
I do remember that. Yeah. That made some news for sure. So they didn't like that very much.
No, they didn't like it very much, but it's good to know that we were right. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's one of those sticky subjects. Hashtag cancel. No, I'm just kidding.
You can't cancel someone as humble as Blake. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. So bankruptcy is the newer one. Mm-hmm. Is that like personal, corporate?
everything, yeah.
Okay.
7, 13, 11, those are the chapters in the bankruptcy code. But we do more family law than anything else. Mm-hmm. That's because in law, the docket that the court deals with is predominantly family law. It's 70% family law. So we do a lot of family law. So
Yeah.
divorce, custody, adoptions, those are pretty fun. Child in need of aid cases. If you don't like your child support, call us.
I love it, dude. Okay. And so I guess how did the whole thing, one thing we always talk about, especially with business owners, entrepreneurs, is like how people got started, right? Most of the time, it's not like you were in kindergarten and you're like, my dream is to be this, right? It's like, I want to be an astronaut. Not so much. I drew a ton of spaceships as a kid. definitely not an astronaut. So, what's the story, guys?
I do have a degree in space law, actually.
Do you really?
Yeah.
See,
But-
this was just meant to happen.
That is one of the areas of law I forgot to bring up. So
Space
We
law.
don't technically offer it yet, just because I haven't started. I wanted to get kind of my firm seating in family law before
Yeah.
I start branching out to anything that's going
Yeah.
to take up a ton of time, just so I'm not,
Yeah.
So what exactly is space law?
It's a lot of stuff about like satellites, kind of the businesses of it. Launch site coordination is a lot. There are the like major space treaties and kind of just the international relations aspect of it. I never figured out whether my one professor was joking about this or not, but he did say that Russia tried to like sneak in a clause that would have given Alaska back at one point in one of the, kind of space negotiation bits.
Interesting.
Which
He might have been joking because he did speak fluent Russian after what he would refer to as a hostile exchange program, I believe.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, but
So I've never been sure whether that was a joke or not, but he said it with such a serious face. I just don't know.
there's so many things floating and circulating around the Earth that
Yeah.
when they collide,
Yeah, the
call-
liability.
you call
stuff
McKinley.
is gonna be
I-
entertaining.
I had no idea there was actually space law.
Oh, it's a thing. We're actually the only firm in Alaska for sure, probably Washington, that practices it.
I would think it's going to be an emerging field. Like the more stuff that goes up there,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. With space tourism too. So
I did have to study that actually, which was
Interesting.
entertaining to say the least.
I mean, it makes sense. I just didn't put two and two together to realize there's probably some type of legal implications too.
Shooting things. In
A
the
bunch
air.
of stuff orbiting around
yeah,
around our great Earth here.
Yeah, it's intense. They have that little kind of a map that shows you a dot for every single just piece of space junk or satellite. And
Is it?
it's wild.
thankfully, if you spread it out and you can see how many miles are between things, we still have a lot of space up there, but it's definitely going to be a bigger part of the night sky every year. And Elon Musk is just throwing tennis balls up like it's going out of
Yeah.
style. So
Yeah, SpaceX is launching all that stuff. I know we need more Starlink. My GCI sucks.
She actually, she's going to recall her application, but she actually has an application still in with Starlink.
they haven't actually formally rejected me yet. So
So
technically,
we are not letting her go.
Yeah. I mean, if they do give me lead counsel position after 2 years out of law school, I'm going to expect a raise at the very least.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So just heads up.
Top of the roster.
Just take on all the SpaceX and Starlink work,
Right.
Honestly, we could probably contract that at that point. You could just have, Starlink as a client.
Probably.
That'd be sweet. I just want to meet Elon. So if you ever get an
I do too.
opportunity, that's one hand I really want to shake.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so just obviously, want to connect. I'll learn more about, space law and ChatGPT here at the end of this. Like, give me a synopsis how this even works.
I'm glad I asked that.
the brief version. So space law. That's awesome. What other fields of law are like kind of niche like that most people don't even know exist that you think?
Cybersecurity.
Ooh, I haven't even thought about that one either.
Yeah, the kind of criminal side of that, of just tracking people down, is intense.
Yeah, and technology is progressing so fast that law progresses a little bit slower. We always say the wheels of justice move pretty slowly. I mean, you get clients and they get into the case for 10 seconds and they think they should already have a judgment, but most civil cases are 1-2 years minimum just to get your judgment, and that doesn't even include appeals, which is a guaranteed 2 years in addition to that. So start to finish, a lot of civil cases could be 4 years plus.
Oh,
So if you think that, challenges to law, they don't happen that fast. They can fast track, if it's something that's Trump related, that moves pretty quickly up the chain.
yeah.
But most everything else doesn't.
I guess, and that was one of the things, like, after we met and we started talking, right, was I didn't realize how slow things move, and how long things take. I think people just immediately think you hire an attorney, right, and then within a few months, like, problem solved,
Yeah.
Is that not how you do it?
See? Prime example. Bailey's like, wait, what? that doesn't happen?
Yeah, COVID really slowed things down up here too, even more than usual, just because they didn't have any jury trials essentially for a year.
Yeah.
And then they could only, especially Palmer, could only open it back up in limited capacity. So there was just thousands of criminal cases backed up with about 3 judges who could hear anything that people wanted to take to trial.
That's,
For
Busy,
a while.
busy.
Yeah. I guess, so here's a question is just kind of going off of the comment that Blake had made, right? That civil cases can take 2 to 4 years. I'm sure criminal, especially like major felony criminal stuff, probably takes a long time too.
Well, it depends. So with criminal, you can actually request a speedy trial.
Yep.
Within 45 days. You're moving really fast in
Okay.
criminal. That's actually one of our fastest moving departments right now is criminal. And it's a good plug for our firm. Just for criminal alone, we, in the last year, have not had to go to trial on one of our cases, not one. And it's one of our biggest departments right now. So we've either settled it to the client satisfaction, meaning they got a settlement that they wanted, or totally dismissed. And I'm surprised at how many dismissals we've been able to pull off in the last year. It's astounding. So we've got a really good department. Louis Grasso's heading it up at our office. Really bright and actually really funny attorney. That's one thing we hire for is comedy. Like if you show up to the interview and you're just too dark. Yeah.
Coming in. So if someone fails the interview, do they get like the hook, like they pull off stage, like, you know what I mean?
It's actually more like a button and the floor opens up and they just disappear.
Here, sign here, I am button.
We've actually had a lot of interesting people interested in working for us. One of them was actually the prosecutor out in the valley. All he does is rape cases. That's it. That's his whole job.
Gosh,
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
that would get old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
I mean, I don't know that. Well, never mind. I was going to say, I don't think rape gets old, but it definitely, that's not the right way to say that.
The job, it's the job of just doing,
Yeah, I would
like,
think it would be
It's got to be
kinda hard.
shocking every
Rape
time
would
you walk
be-
into the office. I don't think anybody walks in and they're just like, yeah. By the way, we can't even say that on air. That's not even going to get on YouTube. So
No, it is actually weird how used to criminal law you get really, really fast. Because I did a 10-week internship at the DA's office my first summer after law school. And like week 1, I was like, oh, we're going to find out if I can even handle any of this.
yeah.
And then about 3 weeks in, we had a lot of family visiting. And I opened up my laptop and I was like, oh, I can feel my cortisol levels dropping, just being at work. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, murder cases are becoming my like chill out zone. This isn't going to be good for my long
I
term
bet
health.
those would be kind of interesting though, like just to see some of the cases.
murder?
Yeah, just to kind of go through it, like.
Yeah. We've had a lot of really wild cases. It's funny because you don't even see them. The stuff, the majority of the stuff we do doesn't even get out in the public. A lot of it's handled pretty quietly. But we've represented clients in murder situations, and a lot of that was pretty closed door, move fast, settle, just to try and keep it on the DL
Right.
on behalf of our clients because you never know. But yeah, they're pretty wild.
Some interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah.
My wife would probably love to do that because she is a big like murder mystery, watches crime shows. I'm like, why do you watch this stuff?
Because I want to know it. Because I want to know
Like-
if I figured it out. I usually can get it before the end of the episode. I'm figuring it out.
There
every
you
time.
go. Every time. So he just drifts.
I
He's
feel
just-
like every wife or significant other, whoever it is, one of them is going to be the primary breadwinner, and then the other one is going to be the true crimes partner in the relationship. But they always gravitate towards murder, like every time. I don't know what it is.
What's the show that if they have like so many hours to like, try to do an investigation and figure out the crime or murder or whatever it is? There was a show on TV. She was big into that one for a bit. Anyways, See, rabbit hole. We have
I was
100
thinking, I was like, is
gone
there
away
a game
from, like-
show where they're like, find the child abductor, 1 hour?
I would watch that.
Oh my gosh.
See, I think it is like they have 24 hours.
Wow.
They have 24 hours to like try to find the suspect or whatever.
Is it a game show?
It's not a game show. It's like an actual like show.
You know what? If you're good enough at Instagram stalking, you can do that in 12, no problem.
See, I am not. I just learned how to figure out my professional dashboard the other day. So I am not the pro Instagram anything. I'm like,
that's funny.
can barely even find myself on there. Okay, let's get out of this rabbit hole of murder mystery
Murder.
TV shows. I feel like with law and attorneys, there's a lot of like, I guess, mystery of like what really kind of goes on, right? Like with what you said, how long things realistically take versus client expectations. So what would be some of like the misnomers that you guys see of trying to set expectations for clients on what actually happens versus like a lot of just the frequently asked questions and like misguided thoughts that they have when they come in, right?
Yeah,
on a consult.
That's pretty interesting because you get a lot of misconceptions, but then you're also dealing with simultaneously the work product of other attorneys that the public's dealt with. And so there's this idea of, you know, I'm going to need my attorney, but if I call, they're not going to answer. And so when Trent and I started the firm early on, that was the first thing we wanted to address is the whole, I can't hear from my attorney. So we said, why is it that you can't call your attorney 24/7? Like, why can't you? If you've got a domestic violence case, your attorney should be the first one you're able to call, right? So that's the first thing we did. And I was wildly single at the time. And so having 24-hour access to me was, you know, no problem. But I've been able to maintain it. Thankfully, I was already doing law and taking calls 24/7 for clients when I met my wife and then got married. So she was on board with it. That's helpful. But I don't know any other firm that does that where it's, 7 p.m. and they want to talk to their attorney. Because the way that it works at our firm, if you call and you can't get a hold of your attorney, then they've got my cell phone on speed dial. So they can call the boss anytime 24/7. I don't even charge for my time. So that's one thing that we wanted to get rid of is the idea that you can't hear from your attorney, but also provide, and deal with the problem of attorneys not answering their phone calls. Because if you were to talk to the bar, it's the number one bar complaint that people make against their attorneys when they're trying to take away their licenses is, I haven't heard from my attorney. So.
Not like the lack of availability.
Yeah.
I can't say that word this morning. I haven't had any coffee.
We're also
I
I would expect you're kind of busy though, like in like I would think if you were in court and doing stuff like that, and you would have somewhat limited availability. I would think it would be kind of a tough thing to balance.
No, it's actually pretty easy, especially with the advent of, I don't know, the advent of texting. But as technology gets better, it makes it a lot easier. So, for example, if somebody does call me and I'm in court, it'll forward to my office staff. And then at our office, we train our paralegals just like we train our attorneys, literally in the same room when we do trainings. And so if I can't answer it, then it'll go to somebody that can. Our paralegals obviously don't give legal advice. That's for attorneys to do, but they can give legal information. So, and really, I'll tell you a really good secret. Don't share it with everybody on the internet. But if you give clients 24-hour access to you, they know you're there. So then they don't call you.
You and I have very different clients.
But I guess there's some reassurance that would come with that, though, right?
Kelly's like, I don't
Knowing
know
that no
what you're
matter
talking
what,
about,
you could reach out and get your questions answered. So it probably takes some of the anxiety out of that process for them.
Well, they do call us counselor, right? And so if McKinley's getting calls pretty frequently, it's probably because they want to talk to her too. So that's helpful.
I am very lovable. It's true.
It's the personality, It's it's that likable personality. I have found that people, if they establish a pretty good rapport with you, like it may be something that could be communicated over a quick text or email, but they call you just to have a conversation, right? And I've definitely had clients like that where the first 30 seconds of it is actually business related, and then the next 45 minutes is them just telling me about their day and everything else, and their kids are coming up for whatever, right? And you know, I mean, I've got time for some of that, but at the same time, it's like, you know,
the call me counselor thing is actually a pretty interesting phenomena because we wear different hats.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're a mediator. Sometimes we're the advocate, where we're taking people to trial, going pro on them in trial. And then there's the counselor portion, which is the best. I actually had a client guy was a full-blown alcoholic, and he was not going to give it up, but he was involved in this custody case that he needed representation for, but he didn't actually plan on having custody. He knew that. And he said, I want to hire you because I love Jesus, but I drink a little. And I want to talk to somebody every once in a while. And I said, you know what? You get 24-hour access to me, so call away. So he would call me on Saturdays, and he would just talk.
yeah,
All Saturday long. I would put my earbuds in, and I'd go finish my deck, and I would just chat with this client. He was actually one of my favorite clients ever. So, fun fact, he through the process, we got him sobered up, and now he's got custody of kids.
that's
So,
awesome. That's a good feeling.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things about family law. If you tell somebody, if you go to a party and you're like, I'm a family law lawyer, they're like, isn't that so hard? Doesn't that make you so sad? Nah, it's the best part of law, actually.
was my
Out of all
initial
the other types of law, it's the best type of law because there's no other type of law where you can actually get inside a household and make changes that will be so substantially profound for children than any other type of law, and for the individuals. But being counselor for people, you can pull them out of their deepest, darkest moments and teach them how to be better communicators so that they can co-parent and raise good kids that aren't pieces of work. Because
It's okay. You can say it.
one child at a time. One child at a time, we're taking back those kids and making them not pieces of work.
Okay. You said hats, and then you mentioned counselor. I
I like where this is going.
I feel like you already know where my question is going to be originating here. And McKinley's giving this look
I
like,
don't even have a guess.
I guess, if with the different names, I guess what's the difference, right? Like attorney, and then when you sign yours, there's a different name behind it too. It's not attorney,
Esquire.
Esquire, right? And then counselor. I guess, is there when you are doing certain things, is there a delineation between those hats depending on what you're doing or how you're communicating? Or is it just kind of like agent, realtor, like broker, kind of like people are like, it's a different name, but the function's the same?
I think the big different one that people get mixed up a lot is anyone that graduates law school, unless for some reason they, really just were that bad GPA-wise where they didn't get a diploma, that's a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pass a bar to be an attorney.
Okay.
So if you just see someone with just lawyer on their name, they can give like a certain amount of legal advice, but their representation of you in court is more limited.
Gotcha.
And it's also context. You've probably heard people use the variations of dude, because there's like, dude,
Yeah.
dude,
Dude.
dude.
Yeah.
It's context as well. If you were to ask a judge, what do you refer to an attorney as? The things they can say on record, they would probably say, but counselor,
Right.
or he's just a lawyer. That's my attorney, So context matters. But attorney means you pass the bar, you can actually do something. Lawyer means you're great on paper, but you can't do anything else, and you're generally writing for somebody else. And then counselor is the stuff, the most important part of the job that everybody forgets about.
So it's like the trusted advisor role.
Yeah. And honestly, I did not know there was a difference between an attorney and lawyer.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't either until I started law school, probably.
Yeah. So I found out something new. Friday's nugget, dude.
Yeah, I didn't realize the difference until we started paying them.
Yeah, I guess that would make a difference.
Okay, so bar is attorney. Lawyer is someone who has a diploma from law school. Okay. That Got it.
Yeah, Alaska's actually got a new rule now that says that if you're a supervised practitioner, you can, and you haven't passed the bar, you can still practice law under somebody else's license. So we have several
Gotcha.
supervised practitioners. They haven't passed the bar, but they operate under my license. So I'm at risk for their stuff.
Right.
So I watch them like a hawk, but they can still go to court on their own and do all sorts of things.
Nice. How about Esquire?
Oh, right.
I
Esquire.
just get that. It's cool.
Is it just? But that comes from like an old.
You want a history lesson?
Yes.
Yes, I do want a history lesson.
All right, come, child. Sit on my knee. Let me tell you the story. Esquire actually means originally property owner.
Okay.
And so when women didn't have rights, only men could become esquires. And so then it got synonymous with lawyers because we were the ones making all the money and we had all the property. And so they would sign it at the end of the name. So fast forward, women then now have rights. And so Esquire, and we wanted to step away, especially legally, from just property owner. It tended to designate a lawyer or somebody, not just lawyer, probably attorney, but somebody in the legal field. So that's what it is. So all women, it's mandatory at our office that they put Esquire behind their names because it's that important now.
I've forgotten a few times. I won't lie to you.
I know, and every time she does, she gets the letter from me. Fired.
It's very tragic, but
It looks very tragic. I mean, here you are, right?
I know.
It's all
to,
set in
like,
stone.
Dazzle him with motion work. You're like, look, it's beautiful. You can't get rid of me. Can't
And I'm the only one that does space law.
That really is my trump card. God bless.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, like, that was just something. See, another nugget. That's 2 nuggets, Blake.
It's pretty douchey though. Like for a guy, it's probably awesome for gals, but like as a guy, if you start writing Esquire on things, people are like, Esquire.
I love how
I love it though. I'm not gonna lie, it's on everything. Like on my Delta app, I'm like, Blake, where's Esquire? They've got like doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, did you know we're doctors?
No.
Yeah. So when we get our diploma, it's actually a Juris Doctorate, a JD. But it's technically a doctorate degree, which is awesome.
We can fix it.
That's cool. that's I need to have the editor like make sure to like put that in like bold words like as it comes
bubble
out.
letters.
Yeah, just
Put a filter on me, just make me look really stellar before I go becoming the
Pierre, did you hear that?
Please.
Yeah, our editor's Pierre, so talking to the camera.
Is his name really Pierre?
It's Pierre.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Don't do me dirty, Pierre. Direct order.
And I know he listens to these things. Like he doesn't just like plug in, throw the audio on, whatever. Because the podcast I did for Marshall, he'll randomly text me. It's either on like our Telegram app, which is how we communicate with our Filipino crew, or my Instagram DMs. And he's gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh, you talked about me," but he'll listen to the podcast and he's like, "Oh, dude, I love this one line," right? And then like 20 minutes, like 5 minutes later, "Oh, dude, your guys' joke about this was really funny," And so he actively listens to them and to fit whatever he can into the podcast stuff. So he's been really good. He's been a cool addition to our team. So, but yes. Pierre is going to listen, and so I'll make sure to have him put a little bubble in for that.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I wanted to jump in and just mention, we didn't know what to expect when we came on this thing, and so we did prepare. I actually told Mckinley, because I'm the dark horse, like I'm all business, and sometimes I get a little too businessy. But
That's
she's
true.
She's funny. She's real funny. And so I said,
Advertisement.
if we start going down the rabbit hole and it's just not funny, then you need to like bring like a buzzer or something, so you could be like, "Bah," and then come in with like a fun fact about law. So she's got a wealth of fun facts. That's just a treasure trove over there. So if it starts going down a rabbit hole, just be like, "Mckinley," and she'll.
Okay. How prepared are you for these fun? Are they like locked in?
I mean, if I get desperate, I can just start making stuff up and we can fix it in post.
Classic lawyer.
To be fair, you're the only one who knows space law, you could probably just rattle off some random ass shit. No one's
really
gonna know.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, did you know if two satellites collide, the biggest loser is the one that has to pay? Like, it could be whatever. I would 100% believe it.
I can tell you, I did want to be the first attorney that would, handle a space divorce, and I went to look at because I was like, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, jurisdictional issues.
And tragically, it's already happened, so I kind of missed my niche.
That's
Space divorce, huh?
I just thought that'd be fun.
Well,
do you
there's
do
still
that?
child support,
yeah.
Interstellar child support.
or
Yeah,
It's
I
like
haven't
a
figured out all the
conversion
details.
situation.
Interplanetary. That's
establishing
next.
paternity. Like, which one of the guys on the space station was the father?
It's an alien. Aliens. That's next.
Well, it was like a zero gravity situation, so can you really be sure?
See? That was a dad joke and a half right there, Billy. I feel like we all laughed because it was partially funny, but I feel like it was like that was painful.
Wait. So of the two of you, which one's the dark horse and who's the funny one?
He's probably the funny one.
You're all business, Billy.
Oh yeah.
Billy's business, but this is like what happened in karaoke the other night. Billy's very business, and I think it's just the military side, right? Like it just trains it into you, right? And actually, when Billy first started with us, he was very serious, and I was like, dude, like you gotta like have some personality, man. Like open up a little bit.
That was some feedback I was getting. It was like, hey man, you're calling me with some serious shit. Can you at least say something nice first?
Oh, we get that all the time.
Like it's like establish the little rapport, right? And but it's he's very businessy, but he definitely will like let loose, like karaoke the other night. Like he'll come out of his
I didn't
shell.
know you were a singer.
And
Oh yeah.
He does Pink Pony Club.
I did do Pink
what?
Pony Club.
Oh, Sweet
near
Carolina.
Aura.
That's what we did.
That's a good one.
From that on, he was like, "I'm not singing," and it was what we
Got him another shot.
Well, we put the card in for him to sing. And they're like, Billy. He's like, that's not me. I'm not doing it. And we're like, come on, dude. From that point forward, couldn't get him off the singing floor.
You had to be dragged off.
Well, actually, people invited us up when we.
We were such a good time. By that, I mean terrible.
That's
But full of energy.
First
in the
of
bar
all-
of 10 people.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because why didn't we get an invite? You see, that's the other problem with
You know
being
what?
a lawyer.
I called you.
Yeah, that's true. From the bar.
Listen, it still counts, man.
I didn't get a call.
I know.
Sorry, I didn't have your number.
It's because we're wildly unpopular at parties. We just are.
That's
People
not
don't want to think about
true.
their divorces when they're singing karaoke. It's karaoke, by the way, is when you've had a couple.
It's Italian. That's Italian.
Fragile.
Yeah, it's fragile. Okay, see? Rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole.
We go to another rabbit hole.
But now, fun fact.
Fun fact.
All right. If you have 200 or more guests at your wedding, you are less likely to get divorced than if you had 0 guests.
I guess there's probably some peer pressure element to that.
I actually was thinking about that this morning with Blake. I'm like, I think if you have 200 people watch you get married and they all
probably
came
have-
out for it.
You
You
realize
probably have a family and a support net. I mean, there's probably some other things there.
At
that
12.
Correlate.
What does that say? God
You're right
damn
in the
it.
middle.
Sorry, honey. We're doomed.
But if your wedding was cheaper, you are more likely to stay married than if you
Yeah.
had an extraordinarily extravagant wedding.
It was in Thailand, so it's $5,000 total.
I mean, you got a 50-50 chance, I'd say. I mean, you're right on average.
Yeah. See?
I could be wrong. I'm not a statistician.
You know,
I feel like it's one of those things.
I feel like
maybe
I feel like $5,000 then in Thailand then would be a big wedding in America though, right? The conversion was pretty good.
$5,000 in Thailand.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what Eli did in the Philippines.
Trying to
right?
convert
Like,
that to Thai baht, and I have no idea. That'd be
I can't remember how many
bajillions.
baht it was. I think it's like 36 baht per dollar, right? Around there. I think it's the standard roughly. But
I got nothing. I'm feeling very under-traveled right now, and that's not usually
I
where
invited
I
you
feel.
to the Philippines.
You didn't send me the dates.
you know what?
We'll talk
That's
about this later. That is a good reason for you not being there, I guess.
Hey, I told you, you get me an invite. I'll see about the plane
All right.
tickets.
There's been a few things in our travels that have. Oh, I guess we need to book that. What dates again? I don't know. Okay, let's get back to law firm stuff because this is fun for me. I know this is like work related for you guys. But
I love it. I love my job. I do.
Okay, so I guess. Oh boy, it just quit on me. I unplugged it. Battery too hot. It's too hot.
That is one of the leading causes of divorces.
Well, give us.
I like it. Yes, you have to give some background on this.
It's just something I made up. You told me I could do that.
Okay, that's fair.
It seemed appropriate.
Touche. Man, I you know what? I can actually see that.
I could see tech difficulties if we really dug into it being one of the leading causes of murder. But,
Okay.
I feel like nothing just irritates people more
No, it's
than
probably
trying
true,
to
actually.
explain like a Facebook post to delete to someone in their family.
Oh my gosh. I had a pretty interesting case where he was doing speech to text because he was trying to get money from a guy, and so he couldn't find the guy but looked him up on Facebook and was doing speech to text. And it didn't come out the way he actually said it, but then it posted and he was too technologically illiterate to take it off.
Oh,
And so then the other guy turned right around and filed a petition for a domestic violence protective order against him. So it just, yeah.
Did this happen twice, or was this also my case?
That was also your case. But we're not going to go into details.
she's like, this sounds really familiar.
Well, I wasn't gonna. I'm like, is this a common issue?
Well, I'm curious now because so let's say you had somebody that put like a fraudulent review and they refused to take it down and you couldn't get, but it impacted your business.
Yeah, sue him.
Defamation.
Call us
thing?
and sue him for defamation, yeah. Well, it'd be, so defamation is broken into libel and slander. Libel
Right.
is written defamation and slander is what you say.
Right.
So, yeah.
How much, I guess, with the presence of social media and how much stuff actually happens on there,
Right.
how much social media related stuff do you guys see?
Every single divorce and custody case, bar none, 100% of the time. And you know what it is? It's the parent, and it goes both ways, men and women. It's the parent who gets on there to vent to all of their friends, and they go on that tirade of, I was married to a narcissist and, and blah, 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 and I'm the greatest parent ever and whatever. We love that as attorneys on the other side because we take that crazy post and then we throw it into court, and you thought you were doing something awesome. You just sank your ship.
Well, it's an interesting phenomenon because it's like they're trying to win favor and one of the two parties is trying to win favor, and it like somehow strengthens their position, and it's almost always that.
Always, yeah. It's a case suicide, we call it. So
Yeah,
Comments
I mean,
section.
I am always, I get on my feet and I'm like, I don't understand why people choose to air so much dirty laundry on such a public forum.
Validation, probably.
hilarious.
I'm sure it's complicated. I think about that a lot, actually.
Like,
I'm like, why would you say that?
I just like, what? It impresses me. I don't know why people do it.
Those are my favorite ones immediately to the comments. I'm like,
Oh yeah, 100%. I get this far in, and I'm like, oh, this is juicy as shit. Comment section. I'm not even gonna read all of it. Just
I don't even see those posts because my friends just don't do stuff like that.
as real estate agents,
You two have a wider reach than we do,
yeah,
by far.
As real estate agents, I have like almost 5,000 people on my Facebook. The max allowed.
If I
Right.
see my friends do that, I am the first one to call them. I don't even comment. I straight up call them. I'm like, you're taking this down immediately.
Yeah. I feel like our friend group's pretty good, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
we have pretty
Self-policing.
self-policing. People are normally, on the more intelligent side, right? Like they wouldn't just do something dumb unless they were really drunk.
Yeah, but we like stupid people too. I mean, we do.
those make the best for reformations. You get to see someone grow up and do better things.
Well, it's validation. I feel like you're about to drop a nugget again.
The temptation to be like, yeah, dumb people do pay my bills just because of you know the amount of time I spend on opposing parties.
Oh yeah, in your guys' world, God,
That's all we do is
It's like a mortgage is worth every month, easy, of just, you know, billable hours probably.
yeah. We untangle a lot.
oh, I'm sure. Okay, without obviously disclosing anything you can't disclose. Juiciest thing you've done?
That we've done or
Yeah.
that our clients have done?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
the most
individually.
salacious case?
Yeah.
From a
What's
legal
the
perspective.
what's the yeah what's the T?
Okay, I've got a couple wild cases, but one that always comes to mind, and I did this in another podcast that I was on. I had a client who ended up losing custody. It was my client, and I felt horrible about it, right? But the reason why is because of some very complicated facts. He was 25, she was 17, so he was substantially older than her, and he was like a camp counselor for this gal. She gets pregnant at 17 while he's 25. They get married. They have 2 more kids.
Doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it?
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think it's overheated.
They have 2 more kids. Later on, she files for divorce and then makes a claim for sole legal primary physical custody because of her claim that he had 2 acts of domestic violence. And one of the claims for domestic violence was that she was a minor and that he had a supervisory superior position than her as a counselor. And so that was one of them. But through the process, she also alleged that he'd done some other stuff. And one of them was that she was breastfeeding at the time. And I don't know what you guys' personal lives are like, but I feel like every guy is curious when a woman's breastfeeding. They're like, I wonder what it tastes like, you know? I mean, maybe. You know?
I mean, you never
I've never wondered that.
No?
Never.
checking the temperature and was like,
I like the clarification on
the
this.
bottle. Anyway, so he was asking her to sample it or whatever else. Well, my Catholic judge, and judges are generally impartial. We have really good judges in Alaska, actually. But the judge kind of latched onto that. And when he was doing his oral decision...
Is that a pun?
it was, yeah. I went right from latch
I
oral
walked
to-
right into that one. Yeah, my silver tongue over here. Well, anyway, so now all I can think of is latched onto it. Anyway, so this judge latched onto it, and in his oral decision, he said,
Oh, Jesus.
He said, I'm finding that there are multiple acts of domestic violence, but also, sir, you're a pervert.
I missed that case.
As an attorney, we have to have a poker face because if you laugh at that, it's game over for everybody
Dude,
in the
how
room.
do you not laugh at that? See, I couldn't do it.
You turn inside out. You really do.
I can say I had a lot of entertaining times as an intern just watching trials because it's not really anything that's confidential at that point, but I was still working at the DA's, so people would think that somehow I was like a spy for the other side, even though I'm just out there like taking notes about why'd you ask that question. But there was one person who was trying so hard to read my notes because they thought it was going to like save their case. So I started writing in backwards Russian Spanish cursive. And it's something I used to do as a kid. I'd like mirror write. So I was just like, you know what? If they want a conspiracy, I'm going to give them something really juicy.
yeah.
And it's like, if you wanted to translate it, it's like a grocery list, basically. It was like apple, banana, just random words. But
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just impressed that you can mirror write.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I brought her. She's the smart one.
What the heck, dude?
And the funny one. I had another salacious moment, one of my favorite moments ever. And this kind of was, I've been doing this a while. And in Alaska, we've progressed from frontier law, where it was just wild, wild west law up here, to really standardized, Starbucks law. Or like that, where it's like, you know what you're going to get for the most part, depending on what the facts are when you walk into court. I can tell a client from the consultation, I can almost tell them their future and tell them where their case is going to go. But anyways, when we in the old days, when I first started out, it was actually a probate case, a guardianship case. And we went into this hearing, and this was a hearing, we probably had like 8 attorneys representing different parties in the same case, all in there at once. And when you go to trial, you file your exhibits in advance. I was really prepared. My exhibits were like this. It was thick, tabbed, ready to go. I was planning on a full-blown hearing, but somebody showed up, they weren't prepared, and so they were going to continue it or whatever. Well, the judge in the case was so fed up with it because there was so much litigation about the issues, and the judge really just wanted it done. Plus, he was retiring, and he was a frontier judge. He's not on the bench anymore. I actually like the judge a lot, but in this moment, he was not chill. When he came into the courtroom, I kid you not, I'm not even embellishing at all. He came in, and he had my exhibits in his right hand, right at the base of it, and he just palmed this thing like a hulking gorilla and chucked them across the courtroom at opposing counsel, and they're my exhibits, and just splayed out across the floor. And he's like, brah, 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 why haven't you settled this case? Brah, brah, brah. And he was like on his last 3 days of working, and he was retiring and whatever
Checked
else.
out already.
And that was a moment where it was very hard for me to laugh at my exhibits being thrown at somebody else, because thank goodness he didn't pin that on me and think that they were my exhibits, because holy cow. I was way closer to him. The other guy was pretty far away.
Wait, so he thought they were the other attorney's exhibits?
I don't know what he thought, but he didn't throw them at me.
Well, that's good. He just liked you more. That's what it is, Blake.
I don't know, man.
That's a likable personality.
Holy cow, it was funny.
See, I thought it was so wild that I'd seen a judge give someone 60 days flat for a misdemeanor after the state requested 2 days of house arrest. And now you've got someone like freaking throwing stuff at you like a baseball.
Throwing stuff. Yeah, it was really funny.
It's just not fair, you know? My story was good.
Okay, so I guess the whole frontier thing, and then moving into a little more established case law with the state of Alaska. I've heard from multiple attorneys that have worked out of Alaska, that have started working in Alaska, that we're still somewhat, because we don't have as much case law in Alaska, like established case law, like
We just haven't had as many cases, right?
yeah, we don't have a big population group, et cetera. You know, do you still see that in the courtroom? Like just like establishing case law with some of these cases?
Yeah, I mean, so people forget that we're the United States. Every state is like its own country, and we're united under federal law, but our state law is different. So state law in Alaska is obviously not state law in California.
Yeah.
And so the way that it works is you'll have the legislature write statutes, but the statutes are pretty thin and just straight black letter law and so boring. It would be like just like reading the I'm not going to say the Constitution's boring, but anyways, then you got people coming in with case law to define or explain what the statute actually means, and so that's where you get judges doing that. And so there's a huge opportunity for Alaskans to carve out Alaskan law and make sense of the statutes that our legislature writes.
Was it last year that we carved? It wasn't our office, but was it last year that they like adjusted one of the child laws where it has to do with like proportional biting?
Oh, that was my case. Yeah,
that was your case.
That was another salacious case. I didn't go all the way to the Supreme Court, but I had a case, my child biter case. I had a case where a gal who was a nurse, who was not married to the father of a child in a custody case. So two parents, they have a kid. Father now gets engaged and is in the process of marrying this gal. So while she's fiancé, his kid is acting like a piece of work, but the kid's like 4.
Oh, well, yeah.
Going bananas. And he's going around biting people on the playground. And she loses it, goes over there, and bites the kid on the arm. To teach him a lesson. And boy, did she teach him a lesson, because she left teeth marks and a bruise, just like a piranha mark right on the kid's forearm. And so, great. Well, my client, who is the ex, and also the mother of the child, sees the kid show up in a sweater at the exchange. And she's like, well, that's weird because it's summer and reasonably warm. Why are you wearing a sweater? Take that off. Takes it off. And of course, she sees the big old in the kid's arm. Right. So she goes out, files a petition for domestic violence protective order, hires us. We represent her. We go into court. And I think because the judge knew that if he made a finding that this lady had a history of domestic violence or even one act of domestic violence, that she would lose her ability to be a nurse. Because in the medical profession, if you get a domestic violence finding, you're not practicing anywhere. So I think that may have had something to do with it, although the court said that in Alaska, you're allowed to, I shouldn't say that. That didn't have anything to do with it. In Alaska, you're allowed to beat your kids in actually every state. It's part of the Constitution. You have a right to parent your children. When I say beat your kids, what I mean is use corporal punishment, spank them, use a reasonable use of force. But Alaska has a statute that says, yes, you can do that. You can spank your kids, you can beat your kids, whatever, as long as it's reasonably necessary and appropriate. So then you always got to say to yourself, if I'm going to hit my kid, is it necessary and appropriate or reasonably necessary and appropriate? If the answer is no, then just don't do it.
Right.
The judge said child biting in that case. The judge said child biting is reasonably necessary and appropriate, no domestic violence.
Okay.
So next time you think about smacking your kid, bite him instead.
Maybe bite him, yeah.
Just
I mean, if you have a puppy that's biting you bite the puppy, that works.
Mind blown right now. I mean, to be fair, if you look at the animal world,
That's how they do it.
I mean, that's how cats and dogs and all of them do it, right?
Yeah, no.
We have opposable thumbs.
Listen,
Chimps bite.
chimps bite.
That's
Chimps are
fair.
vicious.
Yeah,
They have
yeah.
opposable thumbs.
Yeah, that one lady got degloved by
What now, Blake?
a chimp.
Black A? Black A?
That's French.
That's my
That-
stage name. Actually, it's Cinnamon. Yeah.
That's a different type of law.
Poor wife.
Your wife's a saint, Blake.
She is the same.
Okay. So we digress again. Child biting, and then it's your stage name. So,
Child biting Cinnamon. Got it.
okay. So, I guess, is there any other like potential case law or just rulings that kind of help establish case law that you guys worked on? Mckinley, anything?
I'm trying to think if I've worked on anything that's actually wound up. Actually, I didn't work directly on it so much as I think I helped with a little bit of the research. And for the life of me, I don't actually know how the case ended up. I should message Melissa and see what happened. But there was a question of whether or not like a GPS tracker in a car could be used without a warrant. They were looking for a missing person. They were able to beacon their vehicle, essentially. But because they beaconed their vehicle, that was why they discovered the camera footage that was problematic for the defendant in a murder case. So the question was whether or not, since they hadn't had a warrant
Fruit
for
from the
that
poisonous
GPS,
tree.
That would be admissible. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that wound up turning out.
Because of the way that it was
but-
obtained.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, technology is awesome for cases now. If you have Apple devices, there's no hiding. Just plan on it going not your way. Specifically, we had a case where dad was trying to keep kids away from mom. Mom lived in Puerto Rico. She was flying up to pick up kids. She flew all the way from Puerto Rico to Alaska to pick up this kid. Dad was just like, nah, I'm not going to the airport, and you're not taking the kids. I'm just going to withhold them, which, by the way, that's a crime. It's called custodial interference in the first degree. It's a felony. So how did we find the kids?
Apple devices?
Their tablets, yeah. The police can actually go and ping the device because they have on their end the ability to do that, and they just went right over and grabbed the kids, and now we're dealing with a domestic violence issue in that case. So yeah, there's no hiding anymore. Technology is pretty crazy. Here's one thing to not do while we're on the topic, and this is probably good for everybody out there: is don't put tracking devices in your girlfriend's car because you think she's cheating on you. That can be stalking and also an act of domestic violence, and a crime. But that happens a lot. Parents will also put it in their kids' shoes or jackets because they're like, I think my husband who lives in Palmer is going to take the child to China. I'll never see the child again. No, that's not going to happen. Don't commit domestic violence.
I mean, but is that if you put it in your kid's shoe or jacket or whatever? I mean, is there a crime against that?
I would think the intent would matter a lot.
Asking for a friend.
It would be helpful to find me. That's a totally different scenario, but yeah.
This is
No, it's probably not stalking. Stalking, it requires a little bit more, but it's probably enough to go out and get a 20-day ex parte domestic violence protective order. Because when you're getting a protective order, there's 2 stages, 20-day ex parte and then the long term. The 20-day, you only have to show probable cause. Probable cause is enough cause that a cop would need to pull you over, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot. Everybody gets pulled over for everything, right? Very easy to get a 20-day ex parte. To get a long term, and that's the one that like ruins your career, you need to show a preponderance of the evidence. So it's a way higher burden of, but it's not that high. It's only like 51% likely that you did it versus not did it.
Right.
So anyways, you could probably get probable cause. You undoubtedly would not get the long term based on a tracking device, but you wind up in court over it. And that's the amount of stress and disruption to your life. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay the blood-sucking attorney to go get you and bail you out of the situation. So,
I would think if both parents agreed on it, it would probably be totally fine, wouldn't it?
of the tracking, yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
actually bothered with having to.
You've
know,
not tried
never
to-
had a track child, so I couldn't. Never looked into it.
I have one. A child, not a tracking device.
No, I was like, okay. Billy?
Legs. Do we need to turn off the audio now? It's just about to become attorney-client privilege.
Yeah.
I am of child. I have not tracked my child or put a tracking device on him, but I've known parents who have it in like their backpacks and whatnot.
Yeah, so if
So,
everybody knows and they're
dogs.
on board, yeah, it's actually a good idea.
Collars, dog collars have the
I could see how
air
you
tags in
would
them
do that.
built into them.
I would have been a tracked child if the technology had been there. I'm sure. Had my Elmo leash. I mean, it would have been brutal.
Were you the type of kid growing up that you had like the monkey backpack with the big old tail? That
No, I can't make this up. It was bright red. It had Elmo's face on the front, and it irritated me to no end.
Oh, really? And it had
Yeah.
a big old leash?
It did. My mom
that's
does
awesome.
claim that it saved my life at the New Jersey airport because apparently I was going for traffic.
I
but-
feel like she'd have to claim that just to justify it.
See, that's my thought. Because I'm like, I think I would remember almost getting hit by a car at age, 3, probably.
I mean, it would have been traumatic theoretically, right? So you probably would have.
I mean, I remember getting yanked. So that part of her story is,
checks
checks
out.
out. But
You know what's funny is, before I had kids, I never really understood like the leash backpack things, right? And I was like, it's probably just poor parenting. They can't keep their kid, in check, blah, blah, blah. Now that I've had kids, 4,000% those are useful. So, like, I 100% get that some kids are just like,
Spazzes.
yeah, man, especially like smaller age groups. Like, it's just, under 5 range. It's, dude, they just kind of, you're like, how are you still alive? Like, the amount of stuff you have done to unalive yourself potentially is just off the charts, man.
I can say, for my parents' sake, I did shut down a mall at one point. So, like, they had very
had-
solid justification.
Yes.
It wasn't a decision they came too lightly.
Ah,
Am I getting stuck
What?
off?
I want a fun fact.
Oh,
Sorry, that was my buzzer.
I'm going to be honest. I thought you were telling me that my story was like
No, I have
horrible.
Tourette's. I'm just
and
like-
I was like, you know what? I thought that was a cute little tale.
like you need the Staples button.
All
That
right.
was easy.
If you're a massage therapist, you are, I want to say, 20 or 30% more likely than average to get divorced, but it is not the same for a physical therapist, even though the job is
Similar.
both therapeutic and essential. They're not that different, really. But as far as the
I wonder why that is.
like,
So slow
physicality
that
of it-
fact down again.
Sorry, did I talk too fast?
No, I'm just trying to process it.
Yeah, so if you're just doing massage therapy, you're more likely to get divorced. If you're doing physical therapy, you are less likely to get divorced.
Do you think that's associated with a higher level of education?
That
You
was
think that's
one
the
of my
correlation?
questions, but then the other thought I came to is like, usually physical therapists, your clients are wearing a lot more clothes. So there is,
That could be it.
the level of temptation.
And you don't work at a parlor. I
Yeah.
think.
I don't.
Well, you did hear about the handsy massage therapist that is going to get like 30 years of jail for it, right?
Oh, I
Here?
did. Somebody was
Yeah,
talking
in
about
Alaska, 37-year-old Travis Hermanson in February of let's see,
This year?
Guilty.
I don't know. Yeah, this year I think it was finalized, but back in 2018 he just
that. It was a lot of
went
cases.
a little too far in the massage.
Somebody was talking to me about that in the sauna.
a
We're
weird
talking
place.
about
That's a
being
weird
handsy in the sauna?
That's
No,
a
we were
weird
talking
place to talk about it.
Because he was giving a referral to a massage therapist, and he was like, "Which kind of therapy? What kind of massage are you looking for?" Basically. And then this guy came up, and they were talking about that. How it was
Yeah.
so many different people because it was a lot of different.
Like jail time.
I'm glad we prefaced that conversation because initially it sounded a little weird.
Hey, where do you get your massage parlor
Safe space.
recommendations?
I was like, yeah, where? I get, I had the guy come up and offer me a massage while I was in the sauna.
I mean,
Hey, bro.
I can say, I think bringing up a sauna is like the most podcast host thing you could possibly have done. In my head, I feel like every single podcast
Has a sauna comment?
for some reason.
I think
they all
the
seem to
sauna's
use
like right
saunas.
next to the actually podcast studio. Like,
Is it for Joe Rogan? I could see that.
no, what's his name? The guy with the big square chin. He's like a motivational speaker.
Jocko.
Oh, yeah, Jocko?
Not
Tony
Carrot
Robinson?
Top. Tony Robinson. That's the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Robbins.
Oh yeah, he blows up my social media about how much I need to use a sauna, and I'm like, I don't have.
Oh,
time
yeah,
to,
dude.
I don't have time to sweat.
Hey, maybe we need to go mobile and then do it in the sauna.
Be a very different podcast.
Living in
I want one
Alaska
more. I just want another
at
one.
200 degrees.
God,
The heart attacks.
Oh, yeah. So if you get divorced as a woman, you are more likely to have a heart attack after your first divorce. Then it goes up another 20% after your second. But if you're a guy, your risk of heart attack does not go up until after your second divorce. Why that
Interesting.
is, I don't know. Their theory is that, women are we have like more prone to broken heart syndrome. I'm guessing it's probably that we end up with kids more often. So your guys' stress levels theoretically probably go down a lot after divorce briefly as far as, getting kids up in the morning, etc.
I don't think it's the kids.
That is a pretty.
No,
yeah, fair.
yeah,
Well,
don't listen to
I'm just
that.
thinking like statistically over time because all the
Billy's face.
I was like, well, there's probably a sense of relief too, right?
Oh, I'm just thinking like whatever
That's why
numbers.
somebody told me one time that's why divorces are so expensive because they're worth it.
I agree. Call us wherever the camera is. Call us.
There.
Well, I'm just
That
saying, if you're
one
going to do it, I'm sure that is a good enough reason, and you probably would
Yeah.
feel great after not having that.
That one decided to overheat, apparently.
Yeah, that's fine.
Conversation was too hot.
What's funny? Well, let me start off with a misconception, and then I want to go back to the heart attacks.
Yes.
What's funny is most people call us up and they say, "Oh, I'm a guy, and I know that I'm not going to get custody because men don't get custody." That's not the case. Yeah. So there's no presumption in Alaska that one gender is more suited for custody than the other gender. In fact, Alaska tends to be the judges tend to be a little bit more on the feminist side when they render their decisions, which cuts against traditional women, ideas of women having custody of children. So you're not just going to you're not going to lose custody just because you're a guy. That's definitely not the case at our firm. So
No, that's not new in Alaska. My thought was that it's probably like national statistics. So there were quite a few states that had a presumption that if you got a divorce, mom just had the kids automatically. So I'm figuring if they got those numbers from a study that ended 10, 20 years ago, data collection wise or something like that, it could probably skew.
she mentioned that you're going to die after your second heart attack if you're a guy, or at least you're going to be good until your second divorce, and then you'll have your heart attack.
there we
But
go. I was like,
she
I
had a
think we can
fun
have one,
stat that
too.
she shared with me this morning about where you die when you have your heart attack. So if you were to guess
Oh, gosh.
where most men die when they have their heart attack, where would you guess that is? I know where your minds
Okay,
are already
I don't know
going.
if this one is most. This is just a lot.
I would say
It's most.
maybe the gym. Like maybe the gym. They're like exercising or something like that.
Having worked in 911 EMS service for a long time, I've seen a lot of places where men have had heart attacks and passed away.
What was the weirdest?
The one that stood out the most was this guy had hired a hooker.
Oh.
And
A madam of negotiable affection.
yes, right. And she was actively giving this guy a blowjob and then croaked right there in the bed.
Good for him.
I like how you use the word actively. Is there any other way?
Passively?
Passively?
I don't know.
There's a separate fee for that, I think.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
man.
Well, that's gonna get cut. Well,
No,
Yeah.
okay, so probably not the bedroom. What would you say?
I am not making any statements about where I think the most heart attacks happen. I do know that after snow, like,
Oh,
there-
snow shoveling.
yeah,
That's the thing. That's good
Shoveling
cardio.
the driveway is where you're gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
That's
because
your-
that's
that's your
seriously
future.
hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, you might live.
because it's any heart conditions if you do like a bunch of work, right? That's what brings on like angina, a bunch of heart condition stuff, right? So
And we should have had a 20% increase in heart attacks the
you're
last
taxing,
week.
yeah, you're taxing the ticker.
That makes sense.
So
Long periods of inactivity, and then you go out there after a heavy snowfall because you got to leave. See how it happens.
see, or doing the nasty,
All right. Get a
Same
little
thing.
too excited.
taxing the ticker.
Nasty. Yeah. So wait. So what did the prostitute do in that situation?
She called 911.
Oh, she stuck around.
She called us.
That's good
That's
citizenship.
a good woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
She should get the key
Yes.
to the city. You know.
yeah. So she actually stuck around for the whole thing. So I mean, the cops came, right? And we're like asking her questions like, "What had
Like,
happened?"
what are you doing?
right?
Why is this money on the counter?
Yeah.
I wonder if she could charge out of his estate for that.
Definitely not.
I'm just thinking.
Illegal services.
I'm just thinking they're not really illegal once he's dead. Now she's
guy's-
sticking around. She's providing medical services.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Whatever her normal hourly rate is.
This guy owes me for the 3 kilos of coke.
Speaking of coke, this is actually a fun fact regarding what you have to do with your taxes. Since we're coming up on tax season, right? If you engage in an illegal activity that generates income, did you know you still have to pay your taxes on it? So
They have a box for it.
yeah, you gotta pay your money. You gotta pay your taxes on the coke you sell.
Thanks, Al
My
Capone.
question with
if you-
that is if you check that box and you claim that income, like,
Do you get a pass, or do they just
Yeah,
come to
what?
your
They're
house
gonna
and
leave you
arrest
alone because they're like, okay, now we know, and he's paying his taxes.
I mean, there's so many questions, and that's a whole different podcast.
You're
a lot of
We need to have the
crime.
FBI.
You need to have the FBI on here. 'Cause
Yeah.
I need to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell coke and check the box. I'm just curious.
We're trying to increase things that are prosecutable. You committed the crime and you didn't declare.
You know
it
what?
for 10
Everyone out there,
years?
go for it.
Listen,
Call
tax
us.
fraud. They
No,
are
I'm not going to
serious.
encourage you to commit.
IRS.
Do you guys
man.
do tax law? You guys do a
We
lot
do.
of tax law?
Yeah, Jordan, Jacob does.
Yeah, Jacob does quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Jason does.
So it's like somebody didn't pay their taxes like 5-6 years. You guys negotiate settlements, or they basically how's that work?
We can do that. Tax law is a very large portion of the law. So
Yeah.
but there's a lot of different facets to it. So
I don't think people realize that once that you're in the crosshairs of the IRS, it is not a fun place to be.
I can't imagine it would be.
And it's very difficult to get out of it.
it is, but you know what? It's actually less stressful than people think it is. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing: the IRS wants to get paid.
Yep.
If they send you to jail, guess who's not paying?
You.
Yeah, and you're not boosting the economy, anything else. It's actually a bad business deal for the government to send you to jail. So they're not likely going to do that. They will if you're obstinate and you're bad for society. So if they know that you're not going to pay your taxes and you're going to keep hurting people, 100% they're going to go for you. And also the person that's deducting all those those things that you're not supposed to deduct, your trip to Maui and all that stuff. Yeah, they definitely don't want to see that. So, do your taxes right. The reality is it's kind of like child support. My advice is pay your child support, pay your taxes, and then go out there and earn good money so that, you're not stressing about it. I hear people all the time saying, I don't want to pay child support, so I'm not going to go get a job. I'm actually going to quit my job.
Which is a crazy train of thought.
By the way, they're going to impute income to you, so you're still going to get paid. You're still going to have to pay at the same rate, even though you just quit your job. So don't quit your job. There's no getting out of it.
Yeah. I actually don't get that logic whatsoever. But it's good to know that they actually do that.
Yeah.
So I think people don't realize that they can do that.
Well, they also don't realize once you separate, it's no longer marital income. So people are like, she's not taking me for all I'm worth. And it's like, well, we don't like alimony in Alaska is not non-existent, but it's not.
It's hard to get. Yeah.
Right.
It plays hard to get. Same thing with attorney's fees and costs. Judges don't like to award it. They can ask for it. And if you're not represented well, oh yeah, they'll pin you with it for sure. That's whether people hire us or hire somebody else. They should always have an attorney. Yeah. I don't like advertising for our competitors, but I always say this: the worst attorney in town's going to be better than no attorney at all. Frankly, it just is. So if you're not going to hire us, hire somebody.
I was so scared you were about to start dropping names.
No.
About who the worst attorney in town is? He doesn't have a license.
I'm like, I'm going to have to switch states if this firm ever shuts down.
He doesn't have a license anymore.
I think I know that name.
No, there's too many out there. You won't know who I'm talking about. Well, maybe, I don't know.
It's not that a terrible thing. There's too many to pick from.
No, there's not. Actually, we've got a pretty good group of attorneys and judges. I'm more impressed with our judges because I'm licensed in multiple states. So I get to see Texas judges. I get to see Washington judges. We're going to have our firm operating out of Oregon soon, so I'll get to see Oregon judges. But I do think Alaska has some of the best judges out there.
Nice.
Well, I just learned this last year how they do that, how they keep them in. And there's like a college that essentially goes through and reviews all the judges and does like a recommendation, and they put them all on the ballot?
Yeah, so it's the Judicial Council. So the Judicial Council vets everybody who wants to become a judge, and they're like, okay, you clearly don't have the reputation of a judge. We're not even going to let you go to the next round. And then once they vet them, they submit them to the governor, and then the governor's the one that appoints them. So when you are voting for your governor, it's the most important thing you can do because all your child custody decisions, all your family law decisions, and that affects at least 50% of everybody in this state once in their lifetime. Those judges are appointed by the governor. After that, you have to keep voting for them. So like every 4 years first and then 6 years after that. So you can vote judges off the bench. It's hard to do. But,
yeah.
Definitely vote. Your vote counts on that one, especially it affects
you. Always get like the ballot and you see all the judges and you're like,
which ones are the ones? Because
I'm
not in that space, so I don't know who any of those people are.
Yeah, I'd say we could do a podcast about it, but all the judges are our favorites. They're wonderful people. Fantastic.
I won't say that I won't say I dislike a judge. That's just not the case. But I do have my favorite judges because they give. I like judges who are actually going to take a stand on something. And I don't. Have you ever shaken hands with somebody and it's like shaking hands with like a wet fish?
Wet needle.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. I want like a judge that's going to give everybody a firm handshake and just be like, here's the rules. Here's what I'm doing. If they're going to award attorney's fees and costs, just make it clear and just do it, but don't placate everybody.
Right.
But some of my favorite judges, Jennifer Henderson, who's on the Supreme Court right now, she's one of my favorite. I remember when she was in Superior Court, she was the nicest judge. She'd come in, she'd be like, hey, everybody. And she was so nice. And we're like in there to fight, we're ready to go. Exhibits and badass witnesses and all this stuff. And she's like, I'm so glad you're here. And we just totally deflate the room. Yeah. And we're like, we should probably just go outside and settle and have like a beer or something. But but she was good. Judge Fiffner was one of my favorites. He gave me something really fun. He's the milk judge, by the way. He's a really great judge. He's off the bench now.
You, sir. Perfect.
Judge Pallenberg. He's a mediator now. He was one of my favorite judges too because his written decisions were wild. They were so like well written. So, but those are some of my favorite.
Awesome. I don't know who any of those people are.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good thing.
Right.
So
that's my stance.
Yeah. If I'm not an attorney, I feel like not being involved in the court system, right,
is a good thing.
Is a good thing, right? I mean, as a police officer, we had to do grand jury and whatnot a few times, but I mean, not long enough in that world to really get to know the DAs and all that jazz. So,
well, it definitely affects our community. I thought it was interesting. I think that the council is a pretty valuable resource for the community.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was happening at all.
Okay. We are probably a little over an hour plus. We always ask our guests 5 things. If you were your young self.
I am my young self.
I'm excited for her to go first on this one.
And you had to give yourself some 5 tips on, business, entrepreneurship, like, advice for a young person who's just starting off, what would those 5 tips be?
I guess technically I have been a business owner for like,
Well,
I don't know how many
if
years.
you had a time
but-
machine and you could go back to the very beginning that you could remember and tell yourself 5 things.
Blake, you look really
I'll go
ready
for
to
it.
go.
Yeah, my mind went straight there. So first thing is you don't have to know everything.
That's a good one.
And hard work will get you everywhere. Honesty above everything else, especially in your personal relationships, even when it hurts. And love is the greatest motivating factor. Fear is the second.
Ooh.
You clearly have never had to go for revenge.
You kill them
No
with love.
judgment.
That's how you do it.
Okay.
All right, going off of that, spite is an excellent motivator. Because younger me definitely was trying to tamp it down. You can go a long ways if you're just mad at someone else that you want to beat. 'Cause
Yeah.
you don't have to have anything bad happen to them. You just have to have them look you in the eye and know that they didn't do what you did.
Right.
It's very good for law school. Got me through 3 years. Quimby is your friend, first year of law school.
What's
because
Quimby?
It's this glorious app that has most of the basic cases already outlined.
Nice.
And when
Okay.
you're reading 50 cases in a couple of days, it is
Right.
just so glorious to watch their little intro video. But I didn't discover it till my 2L year, so
Oh.
it was tragic. Who knows? Could have been top of the class. We'll never know. 3, invest early.
Yeah.
I was trying to save for college as a 6-year-old, and I got to say $4 a week allowance does not go very far anymore college-wise.
Yeah.
But if it had compounded to 16, I could have had a year's of rent, maybe.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. That's good advice. I think you're the first person to actually bring that up
It's
in 34 podcasts.
yeah. I discovered the E-Trader in 2020, and I had way too much fun during lockdown. I have to come up with 2 other things that my younger self would think was wise.
Or
All right,
even
this
current
one's
self.
this one's going to be controversial. Don't date Italians back to back. You know what? If I had followed that advice, my life would have gone so differently.
I did not expect that as an answer.
That's why I'm proud of her, man. I'm telling you.
Listen, I lived
can
in
pick
Jersey.
people.
I did undergrad in Jersey, and also that would probably be my number 5. Would honestly be visit the cities of Jersey before you decide that it is all the Garden State. Because I visited this beautiful little lake area, and I was like, oh, everywhere except for Newark must just be delightful.
Right.
And nothing against New Jersey, but I could not have been more wrong about what the majority of that state was like.
It's not the Garden State.
I mean, it's a garden of something, but
We need to track down those 2 Italians, and you need to get them in here. There's 2 open seats that I have some questions.
I have some questions too.
I'm sure they've got answers. But there's just, I don't know, there's just so many of them.
Date
It's
2
hard.
Italians. That's awesome.
That's
There's just-
hilarious.
That's cool. You should put that on the wall, actually.
Well, the odds that they're somehow related is also so high.
I
Just
mean,
because in
Italy's not a
Jersey,
big country.
It's really not.
And
just
and
awkward.
most immigrants came from what?
Was this
Sicily?
in Jersey?
Yeah, that was
Yeah, there's a.
I learned a lot in Jersey.
Yeah.
So much. Too much. But
That's awesome.
yeah, that's a weird transition because I was fresh from Wasilla and had been to Jersey twice in my
Oh
life.
wow.
And once when I was 3, and then the other time when I was, a year before college, where
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is beautiful. And it
Yeah.
turns out Fred and Mary's place is beautiful. The rest of New Jersey is a
Newark.
mix.
It's all
Yeah.
Newark.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, going from Wasilla to Jersey, that's a big difference. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that whole section of the country is huge. It's just massive population, big cities.
Yeah, we're
New York's
the
right there.
least densely populated state, and New Jersey is the most densely populated state, which I learned really quickly.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Also,
Anchorage is bad.
yeah, learned that when Trump gets elected at a New Jersey school, I thought we were having a school shooting. There was so much screaming, like at 2 a.m., because my ballot didn't come in. So that would also be a thing. Order your absentee ballot months in advance, because you will not get it if you're from Alaska and you're going to school
Oh
if you
my
don't.
gosh, I know, right?
I didn't even think about that.
But
Wow.
I don't think I would have swayed that election too much. It all worked out. But yeah. No, but man, I thought like we were actually having a school shooting because so many people were just like screaming and weeping in the like hallway at 2
Gnashing
a.m.
teeth, yeah.
It woke me up, and then I just heard someone go Trump, and I was like, oh, I can go back to bed. It's all good.
That's hilarious, dude. We won't get too much into politics because obviously it's very touchy right now. So, not trying to get canceled. We're just trying to start season 2.
That was just a learning curve moment.
Love it.
Yep.
Okay. Before we end everything here, let's digress into some quick plugs for you guys. So, where can people find you, and how can they get in contact with you?
So you can find us online, bfqlaw.com. And then call me. Call me on my cell phone, 907-715-4942. If you're my ex, don't call me. I've moved
So
on.
brave.
So brave.
Yeah, I am also at that office. So if you look up just the word Quackenbush, scroll down, you'll find me.
Okay.
I look very scary in that picture.
Nah, you're going pro with us.
Love it. Cool. Well, guys, thanks for coming on the podcast. Hopefully you guys had some fun.
Yeah, good time.
I feel like we went down a lot of rabbit holes.
No, I feel like I've learned a lot about us.
I got some
Billy,
I got
I've learned the most about you.
got some solid nuggets. I also learned you don't date Italians back to back.
Yeah.
Listen, it's just straight wisdom.
It is. Or words of encouragement.
Oh man. The lead up for the show should just be like that's totally gonna make the top 3.
I'm gonna get invited back, and it's just gonna be me like
Just you.
educating on
Yeah, they're gonna
Italian
eliminate
Oh
this
my
show.
goodness.
They're gonna make a meme coin for you.
dating. You know
A
what?
meme corn? What's that?
A meme coin.
Meme coin.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You know,
Two
I have
Italians
always
back
thought
to
my
back. What
face.
would be the name of that?
I
already know where that's going. I know where that's going.
Okay, we're just gonna end it right here because I feel like I'm just gonna digress just into that greatness.
Yeah.
Billy, don't send us off into the ether at the very end, okay? Jesus.
Listen, it's not his fault if my face would look great on currency.
Okay, awesome, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time out of your guys' busy day. Appreciate you being
Absolutely.
here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
thanks, guys.